so there's flies in the corner in the museum, in a tunnel. The museum's in that tunnel.
And the tunnel is in the present day. And the present day, pretty much all of that stuff within our eyes. We were witnessing all of this. With a top hat that covered our eyes, so our eyes were inside the top hat.
And a bird ate that top hat.
Yeah, a partridge, it came up and ate it. Which the partridge ended up going to the nursery.
And the nursery happened to be in a meadow with a very strange voice that had a secret to tell everybody. And the secret was in a grand piano because they sung it.
Which was on the paper. It was drawn on the paper, with the paper was in the belly button because people like to eat the paper. With the belly button,
why would the belly button eat the paper?
The belly button was on the turkey, with the turkey was eaten by the president, and the president died and went in the coffin.
And the coffin was in the sand because nobody cares about him.
And got buried. Well, the
headlights found that coffin.
Magically, because it was just driving one day and boom, right there it went.
And there were bees everywhere. So.
And like right next to the headlights.
Who can miss bees?
The bees got swallowed up by the frogs. And the frogs got killed by somebody and sent
in the mail.
When the mail was delivered and there
had
were
diamonds in the frog.
The diamond went into made the spam, which the spam has protein in it.
Which happened to be in a poodle.
Yeah,
and the poodle ate that hot dog in the house.
In the house where there's family that lives in a capital city.
And the capital has lots of stock.
And lots of religions. The religions always start in the garden, which could be in a cage, and in the alleyway, and a dungeon. And the dungeon could have test tubes, which could lead to the jungle.
Like an evil Dr. Frankenstein.
And the test tube could have got lost in the jungle where there was magical clowns everywhere, and the clowns could have
walked into spider webs.
Yeah, with the spider web, it could have been danced on by the worm. And
somebody could have totally gotten down low, drop it to the floor, low.
The worm looks like a noodle, which could go into your mouth.
And Sophia ate that worm.
And what was stuck in your mouth was juice afterwards. So you spit out the juice into the sink, which the sink actually got poured into the straitjacket. The straitjacket had a lot of chaos in it. And the chaos happened to start in the blimp, which had a sofa in it. And the sofa, after the blimp, went into the gutter.
By Sophia's dad.
Which, right next to the sofa and the gutter was the suitcase. And the suitcase
was eaten by a whale.
Yeah, with the whale.
Also ate the tuna.
Yeah.
In Times Square.
Yeah, where there's a lot of traffic there. In the past, there was a lot of traffic, but in the past as well, our ancestors lived in barns that had a lot of bacteria, but you could vacuum the bacteria in that barn, but the vacuum got lost in the fog, which contained a lot of mud, but somehow the mud got into your vase, which the vase had a lot of cavities to that needed to be filled.
And then all of this was in Washington, in the woods.
George Washington had his teeth made out of wood.
Is there a way of putting it? I like the way I put it better.
What?
I put all this happening in Washington, in the woods.
Oh, in the woods, yeah.
And the woods happen to be in the world.
Yeah, of course. It's part of the world.
And it happened to be springtime.
A lot of times has a lot of spring. Yeah, in the springtime. Yeah, it was in the springtime. And in the springtime, there was a lot of water.
Pretty water.
Yeah.
Under the bed.
Yeah, and there was the bed.
There was a tooth fairy in that bed.
The water went into the bed, and then what?
There was a tooth fairy in that bed.
Involved in that bed. Which the tooth got swallowed whenever the tooth fairy got there and went down their throat. And the throat, totally...
ate a seashell afterwards.
Yeah.
And ended up in line with the needle, and a needle was in that bonnet, and then an eyelash is in that bonnet, the eyelash of an elephant, and then the elephant was on pot and pills, and then the pills fell out of the elephant's mouth into the grass, and the grass was breathing air, and then a crater came and hit the air, and then a shovel dug up that crater, which happened to be in a bar, in a doorway, and then the email happened to be in the doorway, because they kept the computer in the doorway for some odd reason.
Yeah, and that email contained gold, money, a lot of money, and basically the gold went into buying a new small intestine because you don't really have that anymore. Which the student started to study more about that small intestine that you had to get back. And the student was so poor that he lived in the trailer, but he bought it and put it in the shopping cart when he bought it. That's how small that trailer is. And the shopping cart magically was flying in space. There was a lot of space in my garage. For not the space that you're thinking of.
And the garage is in the cemetery, and the butler is buried in the cemetery because nobody cared about the butler. Everybody killed.
And so
we had Adam kill the butler.
No, they put haystack on the butler's grave.
And then there was smoke in the haystack.
Started smoking, and the smoke went from the haystack of the cemetery into the bathroom of somebody's house where people were happening to make love. And in that love
was a beautiful color.
And the color went into the frying pan because that's how it happens, magically. And the frying pan to cook up their food was on the fire in the fireplace cooking up, where there was cement in that fireplace because that's how you keep. And
then the ocean was surrounding the cement.
Yeah,
and the ocean had so much time and power.
Wait a minute.
It was so strong.
Does this mean there was a fireplace underwater?
Yes. Like the Titanic, because the Titanic went underwater.
It actually was Atlanta. The whole story of Atlanta.
Atlantis?
Atlantis.
Whatever. And then it started...
Atlanta, Georgia.
And then it started the Seeds of Life and created kindergarten. And the kindergarten happened to be on quicksand, which is a really scary kindergarten. Don't go to that kindergarten.
For them, but the quicksand actually contained cats in it. But the cats ended up getting out of the quicksand and going into trunks, with the trunk within a
giant
big, huge oasis. But the oasis went not only by itself, but it was in the galaxy that was that contained a kangaroo in there that kept on
hopping
in circles.
Had a lot of gas.
And kept on leaving. Had a lot of gas. And basically carried a purse with them. And the purse had a Venus flytrap.
No, the purse got eaten by a Venus flytrap.
And then it went into my pocket because
and then the baby swallowed the pocket, and the baby happened to be my baby.
Yeah.
And then the brain.
You didn't have a lot of brain in that situation, so you ended up putting your brain in the drawer of the solar system that ended up being this big, huge letter from this guy and from the asylum.
All of this was made from a guy in prison in the asylum.
That wrote a letter to his true love. The end.
This was a love letter.
That was the biggest monologue of our lives.